What does a 7-round mock draft look like for the New York Jets if they take Tyler Warren with their first round pick? Let's find out. Welcome back to the channel. So today we have the first of 3 mock drafts that we're going to go do. In this scenario, we are going to draft Tyler Warren with our first round pick and then see how the rest of the draft board works out, with the idea that we're going to fill the rest of the roster with that. And today our GM is Adnan, our very own Adnan. Let's give him a round of applause. GM Adnan.
Let's go. Let's see if I can fix this team in one draft.
Fucking won't. There's no way.
Yeah.
So anyway, so just to kind of give over the rules, we're going to do this via PFF over here, and Adnan's basically got control. Now to do this right, we're only going to do the Jets here. And then we're gonna have these draft settings in here and keep them consistent across the other drafts that we're gonna do as well. For public versus PFF, we're just gonna stick with public because PFF sometimes does some wacky stuff, and we're gonna stick with public. Care for positional value will be very high, as well as the draft for need, and then the randomness will be at the absolute least to try and give us the most predictability here. Everyone good with the rules?
Yeah, that makes sense.
To go.
Okay, so now we are live in the draft. And the clock is starting. Dun, 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 dun. And just to review what happened before, something that looked very not random. Cam Ward went first. No way. Sanders went second. Travis Hunter third. Abdul Carter fourth. Mason Graham, Aston Genty. And then the Jets are on the clock. Adam, what are you going to do?
Yeah, as discussed, I mean, I've been banging the table for Tyler Warren since January. I think I look at with what they need, what this offense is going to look like, what we've seen in Detroit with a quarterback like Justin Fields. I think that Tyler Warren is probably the best pass catcher in this draft. I know that there is some concern about positional value, drafting a tight end as high as 7, but I also think Tyler Warren, if he ends up being what he's projected to be and what we think he can be, he is what Monty has referred to him as, a force multiplier. So I think that, for this pick, we're going to start with Tyler Warren, get that tight end chess piece, and then kind of move forward from there and see how the rest of the board plays out. You guys have any comments there?
Well, we agreed to it, right? So it's kind of the way it is, right? Monty, you can go ahead before I start reading these pros and cons relating to Tyler Warren.
Yeah. I mean, I've been a proponent of Tyler Warren. He's, he's strong. He's a solid blocker, even though Joe Blewett on his review of him said that he was kind of more of an average blocker in comparison to NFL. So he's kind of like, I got to see it in the NFL before I say and anoint him. And I guess that's fair, because he was blocking definitely significantly lesser talent in, college, although it's like, that's kind of how everyone is. So, yes and no. But I still think he's a solid choice. He can block. He is a player who plays on the line. You can split him out. He helps make Breece Hall better. Our guy, our new guy, is kind of addicted to throwing to the tight end. So, Justin Fields, we'll see what he can do, and we'll see if he leans into that. He keeps that consistent. So, hopefully it is a good pick, but I think that this is a good spot for us to start, and it checks a lot of boxes and helps lift the entire offense with one position. I like it.
Correct. I mean, there's a high reason to do this, right? The blocking, which at least is average, right? For a tight end that you're getting. So it does give you, it may not be the greatest, right? It could get better though. Because Warren, he's not a small puppy, if that makes sense, right? The guy is 6'6" and 260 for the combine. That should be able to block at least decently. And and that's what Blewett basically said. He blocks decently at the very least, right? And is a decent blocker. He's not an all-worldly blocker like, let's say, Kittle, but then the other aspect to it is that, when it comes to the passing game, he can be a force to reckon with. Now, per PFF, we're just going to, what the hell? Why is this thing not? Okay, fair enough. But per PFF, there's a couple pros and cons, right, to this, right? And the big pros are as follows, right? He has the frame to play inline as a wingback and a fullback. So there's the flexibility there that you're looking for. You can do a lot of things with them. Long arms to help with his catch radius, as you could tell by his contested catch ball rate being one of the highest amongst the position. He held up well versus power against most defensive ends, which attests that he can at least block or at least do enough there. He's a strong player. Should be. You're 6'6", 260 and change to be strong. Not afraid of being physical, which is great. Big time production increase of receiver, last year, which is great. He's got great hands, and adequate shoulder dips for speed release inline. So, I mean, he's good. He's good. But the cons are he's a bit stiffer when changing direction. But hey, he's a freaking tight end, right? So the route tree is not going to be the all, 0 through 9, if that makes sense, right? Top speed takes a handful of steps to get to. I mean, he's a tight end.
Also fine.
Yes. Good strength as a run blocker, but could hold blocks a bit longer. Okay. But at least he can hold a block for a minute, right? We haven't seen Conklin do that very well. Rutgers struggled with it at times. Uzama, who was before, was actually our best one, despite having a couple holding calls that really cost us a couple games, in particular with the Raiders 2 years ago. And he could stand to tempo his routes to create bigger throwing windows against zone. Okay. I don't know.
Most of that is countered by him being a contested catch guy. The speed, the tempoing the routes, all that, the route tree, him being good at contested catches and being tall and big and strong. I'm not worried about most of that.
Well, I would also say all of those quote unquote cons, they are things that can be fixed with NFL coaching, right? So you're not looking at something where it's like he absolutely cannot do this. Being in an NFL strength and conditioning program, working with NFL coaches, this being his full-time job, those are things that can be, worked on. So I think it's good to go.
Yeah, you can't coach arm length.
Exactly.
You can't coach arm length and just being able to be good at the college level, right?
Exactly.
I mean, you can, but obviously, then there's a great article at Jackson Kruger, I'm trying to get on the show, was talking about talent versus production in college. You need talent. That does translate a lot more to the next level than you think. And he's got that already, and he already has the production to match it. So, okay. And just a reference before we make this pick, note that per PFF, they say our needs are QB, wide receiver, tackle, and defensive interior, right? But because this is a mock draft and we can do whatever we want, we're going to draft Tyler Warren and see what the hell happens, right? So we draft Warren and the board goes down and, oh, look, we have another pick. We're on the clock again. No way the draft moved that fast. Adnan, how are you going to address the rest of this team? Did you just blow the pick? Did you blow it?
Let's take
your next suggestion.
So let's take a look at the tackles that are left available if you want to filter by position.
I could do that. Okay, so we've got Donovan Jackson.
Ursary is
there too.
Yeah. So let's look at that. Let's go to the wide receivers that are still available.
Okay. And get rid of the tackles, right? Okay. Yep. And the wide receivers. We just ignored tackle and
I feel like tackle at 2. I feel like tackle at 2 is not the greatest.
Yeah, I think when you look at the value of people who are there, I know we're doubling down here, but this offense needs all the juice it can get based on kind of what is available at tackle. I don't think that's somewhere we want to go. I'm going to go with Jaden Higgins here at wide receiver and double down.
I like Jaden.
I'm a big Jaden Higgins fan.
Profile a little bit just so everyone can get a look at him. He's 6'4", 215, which is great for size. You got to love the size. He is a senior, though. Anyway, the stats here, the PFF grades show he's tremendous. And he's one of those guys that is kind of borderline first round receiver talent, but because of the way the draft is he's not considered a first rounder, nor is he blue chip by any means, shape, or form, right? So this is not like a Jamar Chase or anything like that coming out of college, right? Obviously, if you look at these comparables relative to his class, he's relatively high in pretty much everything. And the contested catch in particular, kind of like that to be a little bit higher in terms of the percentile, but that, for 6'4" as he is, but that's okay. And then if you look at the games against, against who he was playing against, nothing really stood out in terms of just being a dud, right? A total dud. I guess it's UCF game maybe a little bit, but that's about it. And we won't go into the stats so much, but you can look at the stats here. Basically, he produced, right? 9 touchdowns. Actually, it was his lowest touchdown total relative to 2022, which is kind of fascinating on that one. And the yards per reception did go down, but maybe that's a good thing just to get a little versatility there. But also note the catches did go way up in this.
So, John, do me a favor just one more time. Go back to his size again.
6'4", 215.
That is the perfect outside complement to Garrett Wilson, right? Now you have the big body receiver on the outside. You have the big body tight end on the inside. Now these kind of bigger receivers, they help with, any accuracy issues with Justin Fields. It's not going to fix it 100%, but these bigger guys, bigger catch radiuses will definitely help. And I think if you can get two big time playmakers in the first 2 rounds, I think you got to do it to add some juice to this offense in the passing game.
And you got a nice veteran and by the name of Josh Reynolds now who can teach a big body guy like that how to utilize that size in the NFL situation.
Yeah, last thing I just want to point out, which I think is very Iowa State, so that would have been, I guess, Brees's college too, right?
Yep.
But they're talking about the pipeline of NFL receivers coming out of that there, which also include Alan Lazard, which I think is just very funny.
Yeah, well, maybe Lazard can take him under his wing, right? Now,
the only thing funny about Lazard is his freaking drop rate.
Yeah, and just so you know, he has been moving up the boards, and this looks like it kind of coincides with kind of the final stretch of the year so much. And I guess like the combine didn't really do him any total favors, if that makes sense. But just to show that this is not like a combine shootout because of some freakish thing that people saw, you know, when basically measuring the cattle. You know what I mean? But here, let's go to the pros and cons real quick. Smooth hips with his breaks for a big receiver, which is great. Quick chops footwork, which is great. You need that, right? No matter what. Natural hands catcher who consistently catches away from the body. Great. Good route running nuance with head and shoulder fakes to create separation. You like to see that. Active hands. Great. Can run the whole tree. Great. Cons. Top speed will be average. Pushes off a decent amount to create separation, but isn't called for it. Won't be a consistent yak guy.
You can live with those cons, you know, and again, you know, top speed will be average. That's totally fine. You want him as a big body guy anyway. You know, pushes off. If you can use any advantage that you have and not get called, that's a benefit, you know. So I think those cons aren't anything that would scare you.
Okay, I will take that and accept that. So we are drafting Jaden Higgins and moving on, correct?
Let's do it.
Okay. Adnan, you've neglected the whole defense. What is wrong with you? And there's no tackle. Who's playing tackle?
Yeah, now we're in the third.
Adnan?
Now we're in the third round. Let's look at tackle here.
All right. Ooh, Ozzy showed up.
Yeah, he's an interesting one.
He's huge. He's huge.
Let's
You want to look at him?
Yeah, let's take a look at him really quick.
Okay, Ozzy, just first look. 6'8", 309. Which is, and he plays right tackle, I believe. According to these, yeah, he was a right tackle in his last 2 years.
See, I like that he's under 320. You know, I think, and especially being that tall, I'd rather them be built more like a basketball center, you know, not a skinny center like a Shaq type center, than I would them be a big fat mess like Becton, who's now playing out of position because he can't hack it and kept getting hurt. I'm not a big fan of the big giant fat guys. I think a tackle's got to be able to be moved, be able to be mobile, be able to be nimble, and I like that a lot about this guy. And also at 6'8", you know, he's gonna have a lot of range, so that's awesome.
He's a big white guy.
Yeah, I mean, his pass block rate is good. You know, again, like you said, John, outside of a couple of games, he had a very good season. You know, I think he's definitely an interesting guy. Let's also look at defensive tackles really quick.
Okay. And I just want to wrap him up real quick before you make decisions. Yeah. So, like, you know, basically combine was around here. He shot up and now he's back down, right? Mm-hmm. But he's kind of a little bit higher than where he started before, but he was always looking to be a back-end second rounder, early third, if that makes sense, right? And the analysis on him, he has ideal height and length for the NFL. Okay, strong initial step, which is always great to see. Eyes always searching for something to block. You got to like that. Patient hands and pass protection. Light on the scale, but not on the field. Good leg drive to displace on combo blocks, consistently extends his arms and pass protection. But the cons, he plays with his head down too much, needs to keep his eyes up. Height comes with some natural imbalance. Slow to turn to face stunts and twists. That could be a concern.
Yeah, sounds like he's kind of an awkward, a little bit clumsy. You know, obviously, let's take that with a grain of salt because he is an NFL level athlete. But comparatively speaking, it sounds like he's, you know, a little bit clumsy and someone who might be able to be overwhelmed by the top talent in the NFL. However, it seems that he may be able to, just off the size and, you know, the resume and the, you know, the talent and the pedigree of, you know, the coaches he learned under and wherever he ends up, sounds like he might be able to be a serviceable starter to, you know, if at the very least a high-end backup.
Correct. And now you got the D tackles, since we need to look at that too, because you only have rotational guys right now that you brought in, like Nandi, Leonard Taylor, who the Jets might be really high on because he did show promise last year. But here's a name that when I was doing my own mock drafts really came up a lot with Alfred Collins, because he's a big fat guy that stands in the middle.
Yeah, let's take a look at him.
Take a look at Alfred Collins. First look, 6'5", 320. Perfect. Big
That's
fat
exactly
dude.
what you want. Yep.
That is kind of what you want at that position. Stats, I mean, continuously getting better, which is good. The sack total will be low, but you got to understand that he is a run-stuffing machine.
Right. I mean, look at his run defense grade is what you're looking at, right? Because the Jets were porous in the middle of that defensive line. So, that's kind of the guy that you're looking for.
Yeah, and you can't complain about the opponents that he played, because he did play a lot of good ones, right?
Yeah, he played in the SEC,
SEC,
Yep.
correct. And we'll just do the analysis and the trends real quick. He is shooting up the boards. He is shooting up the boards per the combine, obviously. Like, this is combine right here, right? But we'll do the analysis real quick. Excellent length for an interior defensive lineman, strong upper body with effective long arm move, well-built frame with good lower body weight distribution, violent, powerful hands to control blockers, which sounds a lot like Quinnen. Strong enough to fight through double teams, also sounds like Quinnen. Devastating push-pull technique to shed blocks. Now the cons. Lacks pursuit speed on plays outside the tackles. Can be slow to disengage and shed the blocks. Naturally plays with high pad level and allows offensive linemen to get inside hand placement too often, which is probably why he is not a first rounder.
Right.
It sounds like he's strong and he knows it, and he uses that strength to kind of be the core of his game, which is good because he's strong, but it's bad because there's always someone stronger, so they'll be able to push him around, because he's not going to out technique or outspeed them. But again, that's fine for a run stuffer, because a run stuffer is not going to get bullied out. He's not going to be, just totally taken out of the play. He's going to be a factor. He's going to get a hand on the guy. He's going to take him down. He's going to slow him down. So yeah, I think that's a good, solid choice. I like him as as an interior guy. I think he's a solid compliment.
Big fat dude in the middle that can play a 0 to 5 technique. So either right up on top of the center or like in between, I guess, the guard and the tackle, essentially. Or right up on the tackle, right? Because that'd be the 5, right? Okay, so Adnan, you have 2 choices here, basically.
Yeah.
You have to choose one. There can only be one. Great movie.
I think I'm gonna go with the tackle from Boston College.
Okay, so you said to stick offense, and totally neglect the defense. You're a monster. Okay,
Yeah.
very good.
I think that the need at right tackle is just more glaring than inside defensive line.
Okay. So now you still don't have a D tackle. And I guess everything else has been addressed, given that quarterback is probably not a need according to PFF. According to PFF, it is, but it's probably not really right now at this point, because we have Justin Fields and Tyrod and Jordan Travis. But okay. So now you want to go to D tackle. I'm presuming.
Yeah, let's look at the defensive tackles that are
okay. So you got D tackles here. It's not as good as it was before. And honestly, every time I did a mock, I did not take any of these names. So what are you gonna freaking do, Adnan?
Let's get a little crazy. Let's look at the safeties actually.
Wow. Okay. So Adnan's totally neglecting the thing that really hurt us last year. Very good. Okay. Safety market. Okay. You got some safeties here too. I mean, if you want to put them side by side, I'm more than happy to accomplish that for you.
Yeah. Let's
So you can get best available if you want to do that. See what's best here. Okay. Yeah, Adnan's panicking as a GM. I don't like it.
No, I think. Listen,
I
think
playing stuff people to fire GM Adnan.
So I think when you look at the first 3 picks, biggest needs right now we're looking at dart throws, and from the 4th round on, so I think here with the 2 positions that we need the most. In my opinion, here the best player is the safety. Let's look at Snaker really quick and see what he's all about.
Wait, up here, Sanker?
Yeah.
Very good. Okay, Sanker. Basically, he's a safety. And now I just want to highlight, because we have Cisco now, that you kind of need more of a box safety at this point, right? Luckily has experience doing both. Okay, fair enough, right? In terms of the grades, if we just want to focus on that, because it's not like I've done all the analysis on these guys either. I'm not Mel Kiper, and this is not my freaking job. Nor do I have the hair to match Mel Kiper Jr.'s outstanding. Tremendous hair. Okay. But basically, decent coverage grade, not so hot in the run, defensive grade, but the force incompletion rate is actually pretty high relative to his position, which is great. Okay, so all that's there, pretty good. And it looks like he was a starter. I guess it doesn't really, does it say starts? No, it doesn't. But he played some games. Okay. We'll go to the trend of his stock. His stock is dramatically going down. I wonder what happened there. I mean, nothing seems like to be combine related, right? Because this could just be play, right? But anyway, the analysis on him. Now here's a guy. That's all it says. So all you know is here's a guy. Just like Chris Collinsworth. What? All right. So what else do you want to do here? You want to look at Pebbles?
Yeah. Let's look at him and then.
Okay, here you got a little bit more of a higher grade caliber kind of guy. Good pass rush grade, solid run grade. First look, he's 6'1" and 290, which is a little small for that position.
Yeah, right? He's going to be light for what we're looking for.
But he graduated.
No, that's a good thing.
And he was a 3-star recruit committed to Duke, and then was a smart starter. Then I guess he switched, right? And one of the top D linemen in college football. Measurables won't do him any favors. Sub 10 percentile in height, weight, and arm length, but the film is better than that. Stocky build with quick first step and purposeful hands off the line of scrimmage. Solid bag of pass rush moves, including a shoulder dip and spin move. He showed good instinct from the snap count. And if you want to look at, I guess, how he lines up, it looks more like a B gap dominant kind of guy, which would make sense given that he doesn't have the size to line up in the A.
Right.
Okay. So, and obviously, it's probably going to say, here's a guy here. Oh, no, it does say some stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Quickness to his calling card, instinctive dip in the shoulder when cornering, good eyes for where the ball is, generally effective hand placement and arm extension to maintain control. And he's a high effort player, which is always important. But the cons are his weight, hurt with the combo blocks, struggles to shed blocks once lineman gets hands on him, can look a little off balance when going all out to match power. Adnan, what the hell are you going to do?
I'm going to go with Peebles. Let's just throw bodies at the defensive line and see what we can, see what we can get out of them.
Okay, so you did it. All right, so that's been drafted. Now we're going all the way, it looks like, to the 5th round, early part of the 5th round. Adnan, what the hell are you going to do?
Dude, you know what? I can't believe Kyle Williams is still here.
Kyle Williams is still there. That is correct.
That is.
And he's more of a speedster, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is more of a speedster. 14 touchdowns last year. Yeah.
Yeah.
You almost have to go that.
I know. I don't just like doubling down, but I mean.
Here's a guy.
I think this is they also have had Kyle Williams in for visits, so they do like him. I think this is the pick here. I don't think we can let him last any longer.
I don't think he gets past the 4th in real life, but
but in this scenario, he is here.
Honestly, he might not make it out of the 3rd.
It's hard to say, man.
Yeah.
You don't know what these people think about these people,
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we got to go Kyle Williams here.
All right, very good. You drafted Kyle Williams. Congratulations, and you still.
Well, I mean, you saw his ADP there. His ADP was like 60 something.
Yeah.
I've read some other mocks.
No, his ADP was in the 120 range. His PFF rank is in the 60.
PFF rank is in 60. Okay.
Which still, I mean, you got him. 40 spots later.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's scroll through here the best available because there are positions here that we obviously
Etienne's brother, Trevor.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're drafting a running back, man.
You got Kyle McCord if you're
interested. You know what?
Let's check him out too.
Yeah, let's go Kyle McCord here.
Yeah.
All right.
Quarterback.
All right, white quarterbacks are back, baby. All right.
They also did meet with him, so.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Fair enough. Kyle McCord, you're a Jet now. Okay.
All right.
Now you still have neglected the defense like a mother.
Yeah, let's stay on best available because I think now you're looking best available. I don't think you're really drafting for need here. So let's keep going until we find. I mean, we've hammered receivers. Yeah, a lot of receivers still left. Tyler Shuck is still here, which is crazy. Keep going.
Yeah, he is. You're right. You got an Alabama boy.
Do we hit the defensive line again? I mean,
or Jack Nelson. I mean, Wisconsin white guy. This has to be a white guy, right?
What position does he play?
He would be a left tackle.
Left tackle.
Yeah.
Let's look at the Alabama defensive lineman too.
I mean, look at this guy. He's 6'7", 316. That's kind of crazy. Okay, fair enough. You want to look at Tim Smith? All right, look at Tim Smith. Most generic name I've ever seen in a draft. Right.
He's a B-gap guy too.
John Jones.
Yeah, he is. But he had a great game against Michigan.
Yeah. Well, what's his size look like? Maybe
probably
he's a little bit big.
6'4", 314. So basically, and he graduated.
Yeah. You know what? Let's go Tim Smith.
All right.
Throwing bodies at the defensive line.
Very good. All right, now you're in the 6th round. Almost no one cares, but whatever. You're doing that now.
Let's go to safety really quick.
There you go. Now you're thinking. Okay, you got Arnold. You got Clark. Elijah Clark. You got nobodies here.
Listen, I'm going to go sentimentally. I'm going to go R.J. Mickens.
Okay.
He's the son of the former Jet Ray Mickens. You know, he's look at his size really quick.
Oh, yeah.
Good size for a safety. You know.
The grades are good.
Grades are good. Look at his game by game. Yeah, game by game in the SEC, no real dud. So I think this is a good time to take a flyer on him.
All right, very good. All right, RJ Mickens, you're a Jet. Okay, and I think you got one more pick.
Yeah, let's see.
That's it. They don't
have a 7th rounder. Interesting.
All right, so let's see. You drafted Tyler Warren. It told you to draft Campbell. Okay, so I gave you a C for drafting Warren because obviously he was out of need. It likes your Jay Higgins grade. It likes your Ozzy pick, sort of. It likes your Pebbles or Peebles? Peebles. Okay, Kyle Williams, it was your best pick, which makes sense. Kyle McCord, it also gave you a high pick there. Great. Tim Smith, okay. And then RJ Mickens, it did not like whatsoever. It gave you a B+. And it ranked in the top 41% of Jets draft.
Yeah,
so, adding on, you're fired.
So, I mean, B+ is, if Mel Kiper gave that draft a B+, I will take it. And I think you're right. The grade was hurt because of taking a tight end at 7, right? But, I mean, that's I can live with that.
You can live with that. But can Jets fans live with that?
Listen, I think 50% of Jet fans want Warren, 50% of Jet fans want Membu. I think that's kind of what we're looking at right now. So they're going to make half the fan base happy either way.
Okay. Monty, any last words as it pertains to that draft?
I liked it. I thought that was a very good, solid draft. I don't know if I would neglect the defense as long as he did. But I don't hate it. And obviously it was a good draft. And, our defense is better than our offense. Our offense needs all the help it can get. So, I see the rationale.
Okay. Very good. I thought it was a solid draft. Obviously, when you draft tight end early, even though Tyler Warren might be the best option to have if you have to pick one player on this draft, right? The one thing that could be an issue is that you're not. It kind of hinders some of the more valuable positions you need to fill. Right. That's the one thing. As you could see in this draft, you were able to get a couple wide receivers, right? So you were at least able to get some pass catchers in there because the wide receiver class, though it's not top heavy, it's very deep in terms of the second and third tiers, right? So you can and also there's still a lot of tight ends that you can get a little bit later on that more of an advantage to wait on that just because you could fill that with some pretty solid depth right there, right? So that's what I think. I think, in hindsight, I think another way might be the better way to go, just given how the board falls and what the rest of the draft looks like. But I would understand why any Jets fan and the Jets organization want to draft a stud like Tyler Warren. In the meantime, if you haven't bought some swag already, buy some effing swag.
Buy our swag!
Are you in need of ethically sourced, 100% non-toxic, laughter-inducing apparel?
Buy our swag!
Do you long for merchandise that respects your right to chuckle in a safe, turbulence-free environment?
Buy our swag!
Look no further. The Laugh Through the Turbulence store is here to provide you with the most socially conscious, eco-friendly-ish, and cancellation-resistant merch available.
Buy our swag!
Our products have been metaphorically crash-tested for comedic integrity, ensuring they meet the highest standards of non-offensive, inclusive, and totally New York Jets-approved humor.
Buy our swag!
Whether you're looking for a t-shirt that says Laugh Through the Turbulence, a New York Jets podcast, or a hat that says Laugh Through the Turbulence, a New York Jets podcast, we've got you covered.
Buy our swag!
So, take a smooth, seatbelt-fastened journey over to our store. The link is in the bio of our YouTube page, and shop with confidence. Because the only turbulence you should experience is watching the New York Jets.
Buy our swag!
Disclaimer, no actual turbulence was used in the making of this match. Side effects may include uncontrollable giggling, heightened fashion sense, and an overwhelming desire to talk about the New York Jets. Ha ha ha.
Buy our swag!